Mia Carter's eyes lit up with excitement as she scrolled through her TikTok feed, pausing on a viral trend that seemed tailor-made for her bold personality. The challenge? Ask your family provocative, modern questions about relationships and record their unfiltered reactions. For Mia, a social media strategist always chasing the latest trends, this wasn't just another video idea, it was an opportunity to break through the polite veneer of family dinners and spark meaningful conversations. She couldn't wait to tell Alex, her husband of 4 years. "Alex, you're going to love this," she exclaimed, bursting into their small but cozy apartment. Alex, a reserved software developer who valued logic over chaos, raised an eyebrow as she thrust her phone under his nose. "What is this?" he asked cautiously, watching the TikTok. Mia explained the concept with her trademark enthusiasm, pacing back and forth as she brainstormed how they could involve both their parents. "It'll be fun," she insisted. "We'll learn so much about them, and maybe even about ourselves." But Alex wasn't sold. "You want to talk about open relationships with my parents? You've met them, right?" "They're not exactly TikTok material," he said, his skepticism dripping from every word. Mia waved off his concerns, confident they'd rise to the occasion. As the debate continued, Alex agreed reluctantly but added a caveat they'd host the dinner in a week, hoping she'd lose interest by then. But Mia was determined. "The trend will be over in a week," she argued. By the end of the conversation, Alex found himself agreeing to host the dinner sooner, though his unease lingered. Little did he know, this seemingly innocent idea would open Pandora's box, testing not just their families but their own marriage. The day of the dinner approached faster than Alex anticipated. While Mia excitedly prepped, jotting down a list of carefully curated questions, Alex felt a growing pit of dread in his stomach. "What's the worst that could happen?" Mia asked, twirling a pen in her hand. "Everything," Alex muttered, wiping down the counter for the 3rd time. They decided to host the dinner at Alex's childhood home, a place that always brought him a mix of comfort and unease. His parents, Emily and Robert, were kind and loving but deeply traditional in their values. Mia, ever the optimist, saw this as the perfect opportunity to challenge those conventions, while Alex couldn't shake the feeling that it would only lead to discomfort or outright disaster. As they packed up dishes and loaded the car, Alex tried one last time to downplay the event. "Maybe we just keep it light? Talk about their favorite movies or something," he suggested. Mia rolled her eyes. "Alex, you need to trust me. This will bring us all closer." By the time they arrived, the house was filled with the comforting smells of homemade lasagna, and Mia's parents, Sophia and Mark, were already seated, chatting warmly with Alex's parents. The scene looked deceptively peaceful, but Alex couldn't shake the tension knotting in his chest. As the clock ticked closer to dinner, he silently rehearsed polite ways to diffuse awkward moments. Mia, on the other hand, was practically vibrating with energy. "You ready?" she whispered, her smile brimming with excitement. Alex forced a nod, bracing himself for the chaos that was about to unfold. The dinner started like any other light conversation, clinking glasses, and the comforting aroma of Emily Carter's signature lasagna filling the room. Alex found himself momentarily at ease, watching the two sets of parents exchanging pleasantries about travel plans and the weather. Even Mia seemed content to wait until everyone was relaxed and full before diving into her agenda. But just as Alex thought they might skate through the evening unscathed, Mia leaned forward with a playful smile. So she began casually, "What are everyone's thoughts on open relationships?" The table went silent, forks hovering mid-air. Alex froze, staring at his wife as if she'd just dropped a grenade into the room. His mother, Emily, raised her eyebrows but didn't miss a beat. "Well," she said thoughtfully, "it's not for me, but I can see why it might work for others." Alex blinked. Was this the same woman who once lectured him about the sanctity of marriage? His father, Robert, chimed in next, adjusting his glasses. "Marriage evolves with time, doesn't it? As long as there's honesty, I don't see why people can't make their own rules." Mia's parents, Sophia and Mark, nodded in agreement, adding their own perspectives. What followed was an animated discussion that covered everything from the importance of trust to the changing definitions of love in the modern age. Alex sat in stunned silence, watching as his parents engaged in a conversation he never thought they'd entertain. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, even chuckle at a few of his dad's surprisingly progressive remarks. But just as the atmosphere grew lively and comfortable, the doorbell rang, slicing through the laughter. Mia's eyes widened. "Did we forget someone?" she asked. "No," Alex muttered, already knowing who it was. The door creaked open, and in walked Jack Carter, Alex's older brother, exuding his usual confidence. "Sorry I'm late," Jack announced, flashing his megawatt smile that had always stolen the room's attention. Alex stiffened in his chair as Jack made his way to the table, greeting their parents with effortless charm. "Hope I didn't miss the fun," he said, pulling out a chair and settling in like he owned the place. Jack had always been the golden child, the one with the better job, the better jokes, and the ability to win over any room. His arrival turned the dynamic on its head. Suddenly, all eyes were on him as he launched into stories about his latest business ventures, complete with just enough self-deprecation to make him even more likable. Alex's unease grew as Jack's charisma filled the room. But what pushed him over the edge was the way Jack interacted with Mia. So Jack began, turning his attention to her. "What's this TikTok challenge all about?" Mia explained eagerly, and Jack leaned in, clearly enjoying the conversation. "That's fascinating," he said, his tone just flirtatious enough to make Alex bristle. Jack even shared his own thoughts on open relationships, making Mia laugh with a clever quip that Alex didn't quite catch. Unable to hold back, Alex interrupted. "What exactly are you trying to prove?" Jackie snapped, his voice sharper than intended. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to him. Jack leaned back, raising his hands in mock surrender. "Ho! Take it easy, little brother. Just having a conversation." The tension was palpable. Alex's parents exchanged uneasy glances, while Mia looked both surprised and annoyed. Alex clenched his fists, his frustration boiling over. "We're leaving," he declared abruptly, standing up and grabbing Mia's hand. "Alex, what are you doing?" Mia protested, but he was already heading for the door. Behind them, Jack's amused smile lingered like a shadow. The car ride home was icy. Alex gripped the steering wheel tightly, his jaw clenched as Mia stared out the window, arms crossed. When they finally stepped into their apartment, the silence erupted into a storm. "What the hell was that?" Mia demanded, throwing her purse onto the couch. "You embarrassed me and yourself." Alex spun around, his frustration spilling out. "Jack was out of line and you just sat there, eating it up." "Out of line?" Mia's voice rose. "He was having a conversation. You're the one who made it weird with your paranoia." The argument spiraled quickly, dredging up long-buried feelings. Alex confessed that he'd always felt overshadowed by Jack, his insecurities about never being good enough bubbling to the surface. Mia, in turn, accused Alex of being too focused on his rivalry to see what was really important. "I married you, Alex, not Jack," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "Why can't you see that?" The words hung heavy in the air, but they didn't resolve anything. Over the next few days, the tension between them remained thick. They barely spoke, their once cozy apartment now filled with an unbearable silence. For Alex, the dinner had revealed more than just his parents' unexpected modernity. It had brought to light his own deeply rooted insecurities, and until he could face them, he feared his marriage might be the next thing to unravel. The days following the dinner felt like a cold war. Alex and Mia barely exchanged more than a few words, and the silence was deafening. Alex immersed himself in work, trying to bury the resentment simmering inside him, but it was no use. Every time he closed his laptop, his mind replayed the evening, the way Jack had waltzed in, commanding attention as effortlessly as ever, and the way Mia had laughed at his jokes. Mia, on the other hand, was equally frustrated. She hated the tension between them but couldn't understand Alex's reaction. To her, Jack was just being himself, charming and outgoing. Was it her fault that Alex couldn't see past his jealousy? She thought about their fight, about the way Alex's voice had cracked with anger. "Why can't you see that I'm enough?" he'd said, and the memory made her chest ache. The breaking point came one evening when Alex returned home to find Mia sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "We need to talk," she said without looking up. Alex sighed. "About what?" "About you," she said, putting the phone down and meeting his eyes. "And your obsession with Jack." Alex tensed. "I'm not obsessed," he said defensively, but Mia cut him off. "Yes, you are. You've been competing with him your whole life, and now it's affecting us." Her voice softened. "I need to know if you're willing to let it go, if you're willing to focus on us instead of him." Alex didn't respond. He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that his anger was justified, but deep down, he knew she had a point. Still, the thought of letting go of the rivalry felt impossible. It wasn't just about Jack, it was about years of feeling like he was never enough, like he was always second best. The conversation ended in a stalemate, and as Alex lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, he realized the rift between them was only growing wider. If he didn't find a way to bridge it soon, he might lose Mia altogether. The silence between Alex and Mia stretched for another 2 days before Mia finally broke it in the most unexpected way. She came home one evening with an idea so wild it jolted Alex out of his fog of resentment. "I have a plan," she announced, dropping her bag by the door. Alex raised an eyebrow. "Should I be worried?" "Not if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone," she said, flashing him a small, hopeful smile. Mia explained her idea. They would host a gathering with friends to lighten the mood and reconnect. But it wasn't just any gathering, it was a swinger party. Alex blinked, sure he'd misheard her. "Hey, what?" "A swinger party," Mia repeated, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "It's not what you think. It's more about breaking out of our routine, trying something new, and testing our marriage," Alex interrupted, his tone sharper than he intended. Mia sighed. "No, Alex. It's about trusting each other, having fun, and maybe even letting go of some of the tension that's been eating us alive." Alex felt his chest tighten. The idea of stepping into something so unorthodox made him deeply uncomfortable, but as he looked at Mia, he saw how much she wanted to fix things between them. She wasn't asking this to hurt him, she was asking because she believed it might bring them closer. After a long silence, Alex finally nodded. "Okay," he said hesitantly, "let's try it." Mia's face lit up, and for the first time in days, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this crazy idea would be exactly what they needed to find their way back to each other, or maybe it would push them even further apart. Either way, he was willing to take the risk. The night of the swinger party arrived, and Alex's nerves were frayed. He'd spent the entire day overanalyzing what was about to happen, unsure if he was walking into a disaster or a breakthrough. Mia, on the other hand, seemed relaxed and confident, her vibrant energy filling their apartment as she prepped snacks and set up the space. When the first guests arrived, Alex was relieved to see familiar faces, close friends, and a few couples from Mia's social circles. To his surprise, the atmosphere was more casual than he'd imagined. Conversations flowed easily, laughter echoed through the room, and no one seemed remotely uncomfortable. But as the evening progressed, the tone shifted subtly. The games they played, while lighthearted, were designed to test boundaries. Questions became more daring, dares more provocative, and the air in the room began to hum with tension. Alex found himself watching Mia closely. She laughed freely, her smile lighting up the room as she engaged with their guests. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, letting go of his reservations and focusing on the joy she radiated. That was until someone mentioned Jack. It was a passing comment, a joke about how charismatic he was, but it landed like a punch to Alex's gut. He excused himself, heading to the kitchen to clear his head. Mia followed moments later, her expression concerned. "Alex, are you okay?" she asked softly. He sighed, leaning against the counter. "I'm trying, Mia. But every time I feel like I'm making progress, something pulls me back." Mia placed a hand on his arm. "It's not about Jack," she said gently. "It's about us. This is our journey, not his. Can you trust me on that?" Alex nodded, her words sinking in. For the rest of the night, he focused on her, on their shared laughter and connection. By the end of the evening, he felt lighter, as though a small piece of the wall between them had crumbled. For a few weeks after the party, Alex felt hopeful. The tension between him and Mia seemed to ease, and they began to rediscover the rhythm of their relationship. But just as things were starting to feel normal again, a seed of doubt began to grow. It started when Mia began coming home later than usual, claiming work had become busier. Alex wanted to believe her, but his mind kept circling back to the mention of Jack during the party. He hadn't forgotten the way she'd laughed at Jack's jokes during the dinner, or how easily they'd click. One evening, as Mia walked through the door, Alex noticed her flushed cheeks and slightly disheveled appearance. "Long day?" he asked, trying to keep his tone neutral. "Yeah," she replied quickly, avoiding his eyes. "I'm going to shower." Alex's suspicion flared. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Over the next few days, he found himself watching her more closely, looking for signs, anything to confirm or deny his growing fear. When Mia mentioned running into Jack in the neighborhood, it felt like a confirmation of his worst suspicions. "He's everywhere, isn't he?" Alex muttered bitterly. Mia frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" Alex hesitated but couldn't hold back. "Are you seeing him, Mia? Is that why you've been acting so weird?" Her eyes widened in shock, and then anger. "How dare you?" she snapped. "I can't believe you think so little of me." The argument that followed was explosive, dredging up old wounds and insecurities. By the end of it, Alex felt more lost than ever, unsure of whether his fears were justified or if he was letting his jealousy consume him. After the argument, Alex found himself at a crossroads. He knew he couldn't go on like this, trapped in a cycle of suspicion and insecurity. If he wanted to save his marriage, he needed to confront not just his feelings about Jack, but also the deeper issues within himself. He started small, opening up to Mia in ways he hadn't before. He told her about his lifelong struggle with feeling overshadowed by Jack and how it had shaped his view of himself. Mia, in turn, shared her own fears of losing Alex to his insecurities, of being unable to reach him through the walls he'd built around his heart. Together they began to rebuild, piece by piece. They attended couples therapy, where they learned how to communicate without letting their emotions spiral out of control. Alex also started seeing a therapist on his own, working through his complicated feelings about Jack and learning to separate his self-worth from the shadow of his brother. In time, Alex realized that his parents' open-mindedness during the dinner wasn't the only surprise that night. The biggest revelation was how little he truly knew about himself and how much room there was for growth. The story ends not with a perfect resolution, but with hope. Alex and Mia still face challenges, but they're committed to facing them together, stronger and more connected than before. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that dive deep into relationships, self-discovery, and the unexpected twists of life. See you next time.